breaking news from the Georgian capital, Tbilisi, where protesters have broken through a barricade near the country's parliament while attempting to storm the building. As you can see, in an attempt to quell the protests, police resorted to tear gas and water cannon. Road traffic has been blocked, with mass arrests also reported. Some of the protesters have been seen throwing Molotov cocktails and stones at police officers, leaving several injured. Ambulances have arrived to help treat any casualties. Well, earlier on Tuesday, the proposed law sparked clashes between Georgian lawmakers inside Parliament. Washington has also weighed in, saying it does not rule out the possibility of imposing sanctions against Georgian authorities over the controversial law. This comes as the country's president is visiting the US. After cutting shorter meetings with officials there, Salome Zurabishvili has addressed the Georgian nation, saying that she will veto the controversial law while saying she supports the protesters. We'll bring you more as the situation develops, so do stay with us on RT International for that.
In the Georgian capital, Tbilisi, riot police have been dispersing protesters with tear gas and water cannons. That's after rioters broke through a barricade near the country's parliament while attempting to storm the building in a protest against a new foreign agent law. Road traffic has been blocked in the city, with mass arrests also reported. Some of the protesters were seen throwing Molotov cocktails and stones at police, leaving several officers injured. Ambulances arrived to help treat any casualties. And earlier on Tuesday, the proposed law sparked clashes between Georgian lawmakers inside Parliament. That's despite the initiative, which the U.S. Embassy in Tbilisi has described as Kremlin-inspired, being approved by a majority of MPs. RT correspondent Marina Kozareva has more details.
This foreign agent law basically means that any organizations receiving foreign funding have to register as foreign agents, basically that they are working in the interests of the country that is giving them those funds. We've seen in the past how such situations have been used by other countries that want to influence the politics within a particular nation, and this is what they use. They fund opposition movements either through various NGOs, or they try and form public perception by funding, for example, even private news organizations. So the absolute majority, however, of MPs voted in favor of this bill. This just passed the first reading, so there will be more. However, the president of the country already spoke out and said that she's absolutely against this bill, and she said she fears for the country's future with the West if this passes.
This law can be cancelled in any way you want. From day one, I said I would veto this law, and I will veto it. I do not care about its article-by-article discussion, its similarity to the old American law, which we well know serves a completely different purpose. Those who support this law and those who voted for this law are violating Constitution. You're taking us all away from Europe.
And then she went on to add that this law supposedly didn't come out of nowhere, that it was dictated to them by Moscow. Russia, of course, has a similar law, so perhaps this is what she was alluding to. But also she said that she stands next to the protesters, she's with them, she supports them, and she said that they represent the free Georgia today, a Georgia that sees itself, that sees its future within Europe. This is why we can see some of the crowds there waving the EU flag and chanting slogans of support there. Now, even though she said that she could repeal the law if it crosses her desk, the ruling Dream Party are said to have the parliamentary majority, so it's unclear whether she will be actually able to veto that. Now, Georgia has already been warned by the West regarding this legislation. For example, on Tuesday, the EU released a statement saying that this draft legislation is incompatible with EU values and standards, and it could have serious repercussions on the country and the relationship in the future. And, of course, the United States, back in February, they also issued a statement the U.S. Department spokesperson said anyone voting for this legislation could also jeopardize Georgia's relationship with Europe and the United States. And also, let's have a look at the statements released by the U.S. Embassy in Georgia, basically echoing the same sentiment.
Today is a dark day for Georgia's democracy. Parliament's advancing of these Kremlin-inspired laws is incompatible with the people of Georgia's clear desire for European integration and its democratic development. Pursuing these laws will damage Georgia's relations with its strategic partners and undermine the important work of so many Georgian organizations working to help their fellow citizens. The process and the draft laws raise real questions about the ruling party's commitment to Euro-Atlantic integration.
So we have the standoff, it seems, which resulted already in clashes, as we've seen, sort of eerily echoing what we saw in Kiev back in 2014 after they didn't want to sign the EU association agreement. So we'll be monitoring the situation and see how it ends, how it unfolds, if this is it or if it will continue.
We spoke to American civil rights attorney Robert Patillo, who said third parties may have had a hand in the events in Georgia's capital.
We're looking at a people's uprising, a standing up against the current regime which is in place, but also the interference of the Western powers when it comes to the popular opinion of the citizens there. We've known for years that the Western powers have sought to influence any country that's within Russia's sphere of influence, whether that be Chechnya, whether that be Ukraine, whether that be the People's Republic of Georgia. We've got nothing but mixed messages. On the one hand, saying that yes, we support the protesters, but on the other hand, having very heavy-handed police operations and a near paramilitary response to such. If you support the protesters, then sit down with their leadership, bring them into the to government. We had create peace accords that will bring an end to the protests. But instead, we're seeing the continued militarization of these protests and a lack of understanding or a lack of ability to negotiate a settlement.